Today I want to talk about Aboriginals in deep space. In the latest developments of the Australian government wasting money on stupid things for Aboriginal people, I came across something very interesting. The next frontier. As you can see here on Monash University's website, quote, enabling Indigenous STEM students to explore the stars with NASA. The National Indigenous Space Academy, NISA, paves the way for First Nations STEMS students across Australia to intern at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in the US. This is not a joke either, and it gets even wilder. It has been announced by Monash University, with government money being doled out, that they have launched the National Indigenous Space Academy. And from what I can tell, they have been guaranteed by NASA to have Aboriginal students across Australia the opportunity to intern at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, as we have just read. If we scroll down a bit, you can see the Aboriginal, the self-identifying Aboriginal interns of 2023. This article put out recently by SBS, titled Indigenous Australians to Lead Space Industry at New Alice Springs Earth Ground Station. Just what the hell is going on? Honestly, I mean, seriously? Quote, a multi-million-dollar Earth ground station will be built in the Northern Territory's Alice Springs, set to be the first development of its kind on Aboriginal-owned land in Australia. Ah, okay. Maybe that's the real agenda here, because we have given them back so much land, and we have nowhere else to put this stuff. Maybe this is a way mining companies and governments can con Aboriginals into this facade. Given its proximity in Alice Springs, perhaps it could also be connected to the Five Eyes Pine Gap facility, where we assist Zionist war crimes. But I'll come back to that a little bit later. Reading on. Indigenous Australians will become leading participants in the global satellite and space industry, with real-time Earth facility expected to bring new jobs and economic opportunities to remote Australia, unquote. Because the Australian government, alongside NASA and Monash University, feel it's vitally important that we create Aboriginal astronauts. Their words, not mine, as we will read in a minute. To help put Indigenous Australians in space, if such a thing were even possible. I mean, could you imagine the consequences? That's right. Even though they can't take care of Alice Springs, they could be given responsibility over decisions made in outer space. Because, Aboriginals are the oldest astronomers in the world, apparently, and they have ancient knowledge of the constellations, according to Bruce Pascoe anyway. Now, if we go to another government website, indigenous.gov.au, take a look at this. I won't read all of it, I just want to skim through it a little bit just to give you the gist of this lunacy our tax dollars are going towards. Quote, the launch of the National Indigenous Space Academy has inspired hope for the first Indigenous astronaut. Noongar Wanjuk and Balladong Man Professor Christopher Lawrence, the Associate Dean, Indigenous Information Technology at Monash University, wants to see Indigenous Australians in space. But to go there, the astronauts of tomorrow need options. I wanted to create a pathway for these students who are studying STEM, to give them those kind of career opportunities, he explained. Professor Lawrence said Indigenous Australians are the first students and teachers of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The first scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians. They are also architects and medicine people. I mean, we know this is all bullshit, but reading on. They've been using STEM for over 65,000 years. Anybody who can pick up a piece of wood and throw it and make it come back have got to be inventors, unquote. Oh, they have to be somewhat useful if they can throw a stick and make it come back. That should translate well into rocket propulsion science. However, we have already struck a big problem. They did not even invent the boomerang. At least not the returning kind anyway. Traditionally, most boomerangs used by Aboriginal groups in Australia were non-returning. These weapons, sometimes called throw sticks or kylies, were used for hunting a variety of prey from kangaroos to parrots. So they basically just threw curved sticks. Boomerangs, as the returning curved stick that we know of today, seem to actually come from Egypt and North Africa. In fact, inside the tomb of Tutankhamun, they actually found ancient boomerangs, and they are still on display in a museum in London to this very day. Boomerangs, the returning type, were not really popularised in Australia until about the 1950s and the 1960s as a toy. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. Back to Aboriginal astronauts. At the bottom of the article we are citing, we read the following. Quote, "They will study aerodynamics." But they already have that part down pat apparently because of the throwing sticks. Reading on. Robotics, astrophysics, planetary science, engineering, computer, and earth science, as well as past and current space exploration missions. Professor Lawrence ran the 2019 NISA pilot program. Looking to the future, he has many hopes for the program. In particular, the main objective, here it is folks, to find the first Indigenous astronaut and help get them into space. Unquote. That's apparently the main objective and why our tax dollars are being doled out to this cause. Now, for anyone who is interested in more than an internship, perhaps you want to make some seriously great money straight from taxpayers, so they can tick some boxes and make some quotas. Check out this recent job application. Senior First Nations Engagement Policy Officer, APS Level 6, Australian Space Agency. Wow, sounds interesting, doesn't it? It must require a very technical slew of qualifications. Let's see what the eligibility section says. Quote, "This opportunity is open only to Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander persons. To be eligible for employment in the APS and the department, candidates must be Australian citizens. Positions require a baseline security clearance, and successful candidates will be required to obtain and maintain a clearance at this level." Unquote. Okay. So basically, you only have to self-identify as an Aboriginal and have not spent time in prison, basically. And you can be trusted to work in Australia's space agency and work on policy, because the Australian government needs to ensure that any potential contact with extraterrestrials is done so by Aboriginals, who can alert them to the many failures of colonialism and greet them with a welcome to country ceremony. It's important, apparently, that our government is advised by Aboriginals on our space programs. I mean, how are we not the laughing stock of the international community with shit like this? It just makes us look stupid. I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't even know Australia had a space program until I came across this Aboriginal Space Academy. I mean, apart from that one space program we have operating out of the Pine Gap facility near Alice Springs. You know, the one where we assist Americans and Israelis with targeting civilians with missiles and drones and committing other illegal war crimes. Just in case you didn't know, last week in the news, it was revealed that politicians around the world were criticising Joe Biden for failing to seek congressional approval before authorising military strikes against targets in Yemen, reigniting a long-simmering debate over who has the power to declare war in America. In addition to this, Joe Biden wanted to thank Australia for its support among other countries. But how did we support him with this Yemen situation? And how does this also support Israel? Well, as it turns out, from our top secret Five Eyes facility, Pine Gap, which apparently has also assisted Israel with their latest attempts at genocide in the Gaza Strip.
You know the Five Eyes? Israel is the sixth eye? No, Israel is the second eye. So we have a tremendous sunk investment.
Briefly citing this article, we'll scroll down a bit here. We read the following. Quote, "Helping Israel to zero in on key targets is a key snooping facility just outside Alice Springs in Australia, called the Pine Gap Facility. Its mandate is to collect communications and electronic intelligence data from ground zero of the Israel-Gaza battlefield and interpret it before transmitting it to the IDF. Besides widespread surveillance, Pine Gap also provides detailed geolocating intelligence to the US military, which can be used to locate precision targets in the battlefield. Jointly operated by the US and Australia, the sprawling Pine Gap facility is a very important node in the Five Eyes global surveillance network, with the main data collection being done by a constellation of about 40 satellites. Set up in 1941, Five Eyes is an exclusive and secretive club of spy rings of 5 governments: Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United Kingdom, and the United States of America, that collaborate to intercept information within other countries to be used for diplomatic, security, military, and economic benefits and gains." Unquote. So yeah, apart from that space program, which is more about launching drones and rockets and spying on other nations, I didn't even know Australia had a space program. It seems to me Australia really is leading the way at wasting tax dollars. In addition to all of this, there is a purposely placed growing culture of promoting astronomy and space travel to Aboriginals. The government really seem intent in popularising space culture into Aboriginals. And perhaps it has something to do with the government wanting to take land in Alice Springs near the Pine Gap facility and build this industry and dole out some affirmative action jobs. Anyway, that's enough internet for me today. Let me know how you feel about this craziness in the comments section below. How are we not the laughingstock of the world? Be sure to like the video and share this video around also. Every bit helps. Thanks for watching. Take care.